Welcome to Tracks to Success, brought to you by Presentation Partners. This is the podcast that brings you inspiring people and their inspiring stories. How did they find their way to the top, and how can their path help you do the same? Here's your host, network broadcaster, executive, and entrepreneur, Kraig Kann.
Right now on this edition of Tracks to Success, you'll meet one of hockey's all-time greats, whose goal has actually changed now that his Hall of Fame playing days are over. He played for 5 different teams, was captain on 3 of them, and won a Stanley Cup with 1 of them. 6 times an NHL All-Star, he has a couple gold medals too, a highlight for a Canadian-born star who really left nothing unachieved. He made players better, he made coaches winners, he made cities fall in love. Well, most of them. But he hasn't skated off to the land of the unmotivated or uninvolved. Far from it. He's a senior advisor for an NHL team and an entrepreneur with his wife, running a travel business unique to those who need something uplifting and mind-altering. He's taken his best shot at bringing memories to people, not just vacations. So what's it like to have the weight of a city on your professional shoulders? How tough is it to hit the ice, hit others, and stay healthy so that a second career is actually an option? And what made him take the leap into entrepreneurship? His name is Chris Pronger. His inspiring story and this edition of Tracks to Success starts now. In 2017, he was named one of the 100 greatest hockey players in NHL history. It is a pleasure, Chris Pronger, to have you on Tracks to Success. Thanks so much for being a part of this. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, this is fantastic. It's all my pleasure. I'm a hockey fan. It's great to have one of the greats on this program. I think your story, Chris, is compelling for many reasons, obviously, beyond winning a Stanley Cup or a gold medal or the great career that you had, because of what you're doing now, which we're going to get into a little bit because there's a shift from hockey to being an entrepreneur, and I love that. But let's start with a kind of day in the life of Chris Pronger right now. Like, what does Chris Pronger do on a day-to-day basis now that he doesn't have hockey rinks to go to?
Let's see. In or out of school? If we're in school, if the kids are in school, we're up probably at 6:15, and then start making my breakfast, making kids breakfast, have a cup of coffee, shake the cobwebs off, and then get them off to school, go mix in a quick workout, and then start my day making phone calls, answering emails, really just trying to continue to build our business and, make connections and contacts and talk to referrals and people that are interested in having conversations.
Well, that's how this all got started. For all of our listeners, a little LinkedIn between Kraig Kann and Chris Pronger, which is pretty cool. Now, you said shaking out the cobwebs. I think you've done that a time or two in your life based on a hockey career, which we're going to get to. So tell me this. What do you miss most? Is it the guys or is it the games?
I don't miss waking up sore.
Yeah.
I'm already sore right now, but really, really sore. I think everybody that plays a professional sport and at the highest level always miss the locker room, the camaraderie, all that stuff. I think really a lot of people that play at a high level miss the competitive nature and competition. A lot of times when you move on past your career and into a second, third, fourth career, you're searching for that competitive edge. You're searching for some form of competition because that's what drives us. That's how we get to where we're at, is that drive and competitive nature that we have. And, this is no different now than when I played. It's really you wake up in the morning and try to be the best at what you do.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a bit of an exhale, though, a bit of a deep breath. And hockey is such a grueling sport. I never played it at any high level. I played it for fun when I was a kid growing up in the Midwest. But, man, you took a stick to the eye. I know that greatly affected you. You suffered 3, at least that I know of, huge hits and post-concussion syndrome, which is something that you had to deal with down the stretch of your career. And then there's the, nothing too big, just cardiac arrest after a puck hits you in the chest. I mean, seriously. And that's not everything, I'm sure. And you're 6'6" and like 225. I don't know how anybody ever messed with you. How tough was that?
I think it was something that I really kind of got used to it. I played a physical brand of hockey, tried to keep my opponents on edge and played kind of an unpredictable style. And, I might hit you one time, I might spear you, I might slash you, I might take the puck. A lot of times I didn't know. I would just kind of make it up on the fly. But, I think, I always had that drive in me, mind over matter, where you're like, I'm a hockey player. You're hurt, and it's like, well, I got to play. And you figure out a way, and you find a way to continue to play the game that you love and you have a passion for. And again, that competitive drive to win and win at all costs. You do what you can to win. Whether that's intimidating your opponent or making the pass to set up a teammate on a breakaway or blocking a shot or whatever the case may be, and whatever it is on any given night, what it's going to take. You got to be willing to do that to be successful and to be considered a winner.
Yeah. Real quick question. When guys like slide and they block a slap shot, how much does that hurt? I'm always curious about that. It depends on where you get hit, but like, seriously, how much does that hurt?
It depends on, I got to be honest with you. It hurts. And depending upon where you do get hit, like I've broken my foot 3 or 4 times. You get hit in the nether regions, that's going to leave a mark. But I've been hit in the throat. I've been hit in the thigh, the back of the leg. It hurts, but you'll get over it. Toughen up.
You're a hockey player.
I used to bug teammates all the time. I'm like, why are you flamingoing? You're actually going to break your foot. And you're getting out of the way. You're going to get hit in the back. Guys would skate at the puck, and then they've got all the equipment is on the front. And then they would turn and get hit in the back of the legs or back. And I'm like, why are you turning? You got all your equipment on the front.
Yeah, good point. That's why a goalie stands face to the puck.
Exactly.
Let's go back and talk about your tracks to success. You grew up in Canada. So I want to go back to Chris Pronger childhood. All right. Were you born to skate? Were you that kid? Like I saw this video one time on social media of this kid, and he looked like he was like 4 years old. Maybe you saw it. It went viral. And this kid was skating through cones so fast. And I'm thinking, okay, this kid's Sidney Crosby. This kid's Patrick Kane. I don't know who he is, but this is ridiculous. Was that you as a kid at 5 or 4?
No, actually, it's funny how I got started. I was 4 years old. My brother's 2 years older. So I was 4 years old, and my parents asked me, do you want to play hockey? And my brother was going to play, and I was like, no, I'm okay. And then literally I'm sitting on the glass 2 weeks in, and I'm like, okay, I want to play. I don't want to sit here and watch my brother. They're like, sorry. So for that whole year, all I did was skating lessons and learn how to skate. So in the long run, I believe it helped me, because that next year, I wasn't the kid worrying about how to skate and get the puck. I had the puck and I could already skate. So I think I was ahead of the curve in that regard because of that. And then just, I think I had a passion for it and hockey sense, and studied books and really just, I'm a visual learner. So I'd watch hockey and on the TV every Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, and just kind of study the game and study the plays and study how players are moving around on the ice and where they're going and what they're doing and things like that. And I think at a young age, I kind of understood and got it.
I'm going to digress. Hockey Night in Canada. Like that's like a holiday, right? Everybody watches that.
Yes. The world in Canada would stop for 3 hours from 7 to 10 in my home. 7 to 10 in my hometown. And, obviously different in different parts of the country, but 7 o'clock, Hockey Night in Canada was on. there was silence, and then commercials would come on and my brother and I would throw a ball in the corner and go murder each other. And then the commercial would be over and we go sit down and keep watching the game. And, that was a fun way to grow up and a fun way to learn the game.
When you were little, did you get was a present for a birthday or whatever? Was it a Maple Leafs sweater? Was it a Canadiens? What was it?
No, I was, I'm from a town called Dryden, Ontario, which is in between Winnipeg and Thunder Bay, way up north of International Falls, Minnesota, which is outside of Alaska, the coldest city in the continental U.S. And I'm from 2 hours north of there. So you could only imagine the winters we had. So it was, a lot of fun. We grew up playing, we'd come home from school and play road hockey, go up to the outdoor rink and skate there, go to hockey practice. I mean, it was like every day we were figuring out how we were going to play hockey in the fall, winter, and spring. So it was a lot of fun and simple living, that's for sure.
Parents, they supported you, obviously. Were you a kid in the neighborhood that your parents would have said, okay, he's got that talent? Were you the neighborhood bully? I know you're a big dude. What were you like as a kid?
My nickname was Chaos. I don't know if that sums it up enough for you, but I was a little wild to a certain extent, but I think from about 7 up through 15 when I left home, I was one of, if not the best player in the team in all the different teams that I played on, and I think it was, you're from a small town, you don't play the high-end competition that's down in the Toronto area, and this is pre-internet days, so you don't really know what's going on. We get the Hockey Digest once a week, and then I get Hockey Night in Canada on Saturdays, and that's really the bulk of the hockey that I was getting to read about or watch on TV. And then the rest of it was just go outside and have fun. I mean, we spent the bulk of the winter playing road hockey or shooting pucks against the garage, or all the things that we used to do as kids. And video games were pretty limited back then too, so it was you were making up your own games and having your own fun. Luckily I had a brother, and probably because he was a little bit older and bigger, I had to learn that nasty edge early on to try to get a break somewhere.
Yeah. You were a pretty solid player. Let's talk about your junior career. You were identified as one of the best, a future star potential. You were going to go to Bowling Green and play, and then others said, no, you should go to, the Ontario Hockey League. And it was a back and forth, and ultimately you switched and you went to the Ontario Hockey League. Was that a crazy situation?
Yeah, it was, because of what I just described, not getting a whole lot of information on hockey. And if you recall the Hockey Digest back in 1990, there was a one-page little blurb on the Ontario Hockey League. My brother was already at Bowling Green on a hockey scholarship. So I was already trending towards, going to college and going that route, and was rated second overall in the draft that year in the Ontario Hockey League, and told everybody that I wasn't going, and I had no intention of going. Peterborough Pete selected me in the 6th round, and I was much less talkative back then, and Dick Todd, the GM and coach, calls me. He's like, yeah, Chris. I'm like, yes. He's like, yeah, I just want to let you know we drafted you today. I said, okay.
That was it.
That was it.
Done. Bye NCAA golf.
Man of very few words.
Okay.
So I they talked me into coming down to see the city and kind of, the school and where I might live and my billet family and all that kind of stuff. And it's a neat little town, 50,000 people, a typical perfect junior town. And they talked me into coming back for training camp. Back then you could go for 48 hours and not ruin your ability to get a college hockey scholarship. And so I went for the first 48 hours, and I'm playing against, at the time, other guys who are rated in the 1st round of the draft, players that were drafted in the 1st and 2nd round. And, there's this talk that, they're going to be good NHL players. And I get down there at camp and I'm like, well, I can play against that guy and I can play against that guy. I'm like, well, he's not that much better than me. And I'm like, oh, well, why am I going to go back to, I had another year of junior B before I could go to college. So I'm sitting there going, well, I got another year of that's not going to help me develop. And then they kind of went out of their norm and offered to pay for my schooling if it didn't work out. So I was like, well, there's my scholarship right there. So I signed on with Peterborough to stay there.
Yeah, you had a very good career there, and ultimately, I'm jumping ahead here, drafted number 2 in the entry draft by the Hartford Whalers in 1993. Now, you made the all-rookie team that year, and maybe this is difficult to talk about, but I think it speaks to, kind of who you are now and the success you probably had later. There weren't always perfect times in your okay. I think I've hit.
I know where you're going at.
I think I've hit it. Okay, so off the ice stuff. I mean, there's a barroom brawl. There's a couple of other things that happen. Maybe you can tell some of those stories. Was this a sign of immaturity? Was it tough to be away from home? Were you not ready for the moment? How would you describe what was going on? Tell us some of the things that happened.
Yeah, it's funny how some things get blown out of proportion. The alleged barroom brawl we had in Buffalo, I was there with our whole team. So I wasn't just on my own. And it was after a game, we were there after a game, flew in, we all go to the bar. The whole team is there. So I was there. And 6 of us are there and we're talking and we're over in this other section of the bar. And out of the blue, I'm having this conversation with our captain, another guy. And a bouncer just walks over and grabs his beer and tells him to get out. We're like, okay. Meanwhile, we have players that are still up at the bar ordering drinks. So we're like, okay. So they obviously knew who we were. And so now, as we all know in a bar, when one bouncer or something happens, we just kind of turn and look at them like, okay, well, we'll leave. They all kind of surrounded us, and we still have a bunch of teammates who were at the bar drinking. And there was 6 of us over there, and all these bouncers surrounded us. And as they kept coming forward, we kept backing up. They kept coming forward. They kept backing up. And we're like, listen, we'll leave. Just let us out. The door's actually on the other side of you. Can we get out? And they're coming forward. We're like, listen, we're not fighting. We'll leave. And all of a sudden, out of the blue behind us, the cops come piling in. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of the bouncers start laying the boots to us because now we're on the ground. The cops are macing us and stuff.
My!
And I'm just like, okay, this is uncool.
Like, what were the Sabres having a bad year? What was going on?
No, they were in the playoffs. We were out of the playoffs. We were fighting to try to maybe make the playoffs, and it was so blown out of proportion in the sense of what actually transpired. And, it was just a saga that, we were talked into pleading it out as opposed to fighting it in court because we just wanted it to go away. And in the long run, I wish we would have all just said, forget it.
Yeah.
We need to fight this because we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong other than me being in there underage. Nobody did anything wrong. Not one person threw a punch on our side. A bunch of bouncers tried to punch some guys and kick some guys, but I woke up in the morning and I was trying to figure out why is my ear so sore. Well, when the cops started macing me, I turned my head and he sprayed my ear.
Oh, jeez. So there were some other things though in that time in Hartford. Was that a tough time for you, or were you, super excited to be playing and a lot of this stuff is overblown?
Yeah, well, some of it's overblown, but I think some of it, maturity is a factor. And as far as hockey was concerned, I was ready. But off the ice stuff, just you're somewhat isolated in the sense that, all these guys are going out to bars. They're all going out for dinner and doing all this kind of stuff. And there's this 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid just stuck at home.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah.
I was obviously the youngest guy in the team. There was another guy that was 20. Patrick Poulin was 20, maybe 21. And he was living with his girlfriend, and there was a lot of stuff, outside factors that were non-hockey related that didn't. I was living with a great family, So in that sense, it wasn't an issue. But I think, all your friends are at college. They're all having the time of their lives. They're all enjoying. And, I'm just trying to figure out and navigate through being a professional athlete and eyes now kind of coming on you. I was very unaware of the notoriety and things like that. I'd always had eyes on me, but just more eyes and more people staring and the tisk, hey, that's so-and-so, it was uncomfortable in the beginning of my career. But I think just immaturity in the sense that I didn't really know or understand how to live my life away from the rink.
Got it. You spent a couple of years there, and then you were traded to St. Louis, which, by the way, they're set to retire your jersey. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just trying to drop some news on you. You spent some really good years there, 95 to 2005. How would you describe that 10-year run? Was that I know you didn't win the cup there, but was that the best part of your career?
I to be honest with you, I don't think so. I think the first 3 years, I came into my own. I started really getting it and understanding it and training properly, eating properly, preparing properly, and practice and before games, post games. That's where I kind of came into my own as a young adult into a man. And, obviously got married, had kids. And then when I left, I think a lot of people thought that my days of being the elite player were going to be over when the rules changed and there's no hooking and holding and all the rest of that. And I would argue that I actually got better because I was fresher and didn't have a 250-pounder draped all over me that I'm lugging around the ice. I'm actually freed up to kind of move around a little bit and make outlet passes and transition plays and things of that nature. And then, play with a little bit of a nasty streak still and kind of clear the front of the net, do the little things that I enjoyed to do.
Hey everybody, I really want to tell you about Ahead, one of our new partners this season and now the official headwear provider of Tracks to Success. Creativity, a sharp look, dozens of styles to choose from. Ahead's been supplying the most prestigious events and outfitting the world's top golfers for 25 years, and it's perfect for you as well. So if you're looking to dress for success, make sure you think Ahead. Here's your chance to save big. Visit aheadusashop.com now and use the code TTSPOD. That's TTSPOD and receive 20% off your purchase. Ahead, the finest in headwear, the official headwear of the Tracks to Success podcast, and available at aheadusashop.com. There was a lockout, and it changed a lot in the NHL. And after that lockout, the Blues then send you to Edmonton. You sign this big contract, $30+ million. In 2006, you lead the Oilers to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then you request a trade. Why?
You know what? I think for me, there was a lot of things that happened that shouldn't have happened, in the sense that I knew I had been in talks with my agent. I knew they were trading me. I knew I was going somewhere. And there was a bunch of teams that were interested in banning it out. And at no point was Edmonton ever offered up as a possible destination. So I was a little taken off guard when that was the team when I got the call. And I was at a friend's 30th birthday party, and it's later at night, and I get this call. I'm like, well, we got to leave, and I'm with my wife, and we go to the bookstore. And while I'm from Canada, I didn't know a ton about Edmonton. Obviously knew the Oilers and knew had played in Edmonton, but not much about the city itself. And go to get a book on Edmonton for my wife to read from the bookstore, and we go in there and like, why would you want that book? We don't have that. And I'm like, oh God, you're not helping. And it was presented to me that, here's this contract. We don't want you to sign your qualifying offer. We don't want to pay somebody that much right now. And I was going to be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent the following year. I should have just tendered my qualifying offer and signed it, but it was like 1 a.m. My wife is sleeping. I didn't talk to her. I just kind of said, okay, well, do what you think's right, Pat, my agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have been more invested in the process and understood the ramifications of what I was doing, but I didn't. And, I think in the end, that they understood that in Edmonton, and Kevin Lowe was gracious about it and understood that it wasn't working out. I wanted to go back to the States, and, I didn't do what some players do when they request a trade, and that's play like garbage. I honored my contract and played to the best of my abilities and left it all out on the ice. And in the end, we came up 1 win short. But, I think in the long run, I think them knowing that I played with my heart and soul that year in Edmonton, that, they were going to do me a favor and fulfill my request to be traded.
Is that, in your mind, maybe a light goes off where you understand how big of a business professional sports is? I mean, forever you're a great player, you're having success, et cetera, but there's so much more to it than that. And then you get shipped off. I don't think, look, a lot of people change jobs, okay? Or they get laid off or they get furloughed or whatever. You guys as professional athletes, a lot of times are in control, and then suddenly you're not in control anymore. Was that difficult at that time?
You know what? I think you learn the business. For instance, when I got traded from Hartford to St. Louis, I was in the GM's office 2 months before I got traded to St. Louis. You're our franchise player. We're building around you. We're never trading you. Listen, the one thing that I always had a problem with, whether it was me or anybody else that ever requested a trade, why is it that you're now public enemy number one, but when the team wants to trade you, it's okay. They're getting a better player. Well, I understand the logic and the dynamic, but why is it okay on one hand, but it's absolutely villainous on the other hand to request a trade? And why is it, if a player is not playing good, we got to get rid of this guy. But if he's playing really good, we would never trade him now. I get the psyche and the dynamic, but you have to look at it from the player's perspective too and say, okay, if that is how we're going to do things, then if I play over and above my contract, then you should be able to redo my contract.
Yeah.
Just like you're able to trade me. So there's a lot of different dynamics that at the time when I was public enemy number one in Edmonton, I was just like, I get the kickback and the vitriol, but you don't need to do some of the things that you're doing, not only to my character, but my wife and our family and all the rest of that stuff that happened and transpired. Then it was a little over the top.
Emotional stuff. And you're shipped off then to Anaheim, back to the finals in 2007. And this time you win the Stanley Cup. Is that the biggest achievement in your career? Maybe even more so than gold medals at the Olympics, or is there something I'm missing?
No, it is for sure. I think when you spend 9 months with the same group of guys and you have one goal and one mindset that, all right, this is, when I got there, when I was in Edmonton, we had beat Anaheim in the conference finals to go to the Stanley Cup finals. So when I got there, I knew we had a good team, and it was, all right, this is our year. We need to win. We are all in on winning. This is our year. It's Stanley Cup or bust. It was, every player in the locker room outside of Scott Niedermayer had not won a Stanley Cup. So we were all hungry and knew that the type of team we had and what we were capable of, it was just a matter of going out and proving it each and every night and really being the best we possibly could and having that belief that we could do that.
Yeah. Traded again. This time to Philadelphia. For gosh sakes, Chris. I mean, my gosh. Another Stanley Cup appearance in 2010 against Chicago. That was kind of the wind down of your career. Not to say you weren't playing good hockey, but injuries and the like. How tough was that mentally, not just physically, for you to deal with? You'd had this amazing career, paced yourself well, big money contracts, and suddenly here's a guy wearing a C on his chest and it starts changing.
Yeah, you know what? I hurt my knee in the first game of the series against Boston, which was the second round of the playoffs that year. And I played the rest of the playoffs with a pretty bad knee. And I spent part of the summer trying to figure out, do I get it fixed? Is it going to go away? What did I really do? Did I sprain it? And wasted probably 3 to 4 weeks trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And ultimately, got knee surgery. They pulled out 2 chunks that were about the size of M&Ms that were kind of lodged underneath my kneecap. And so it was not insignificant. And I missed training camp. I missed the first couple games of the season. Started to get back in the swing of things, started playing, break my hand, but it broke it. And, there was a puck coming towards me and I kind of went like this and it hit me on an angle and it peeled back the bone so that when I would go in for an x-ray, it would get flat again and you couldn't see the break. So I played another 3 weeks with a broken hand, and it was my top hand. So it was the hand that I did everything with. And it hurt because I had to cross-check guys with it and punch guys with it. And I mean, it hurt.
Wait, punch guys? Did you say punch guys?
Well, just kind of push them. I pushed them with my hand.
Got it.
So
just clarifying.
I'm going through, so I get surgery. Then 2 weeks later, I'm kind of checking the strength, re-break my hand. And now, we're going along. Now we're getting close to the playoffs. It's like, I don't know if I can't play right now. My hand's fractured, I can't hold my stick. So now I get surgery again. And now my hand there's something wrong with it. And I got a cast on it. And I'm now skating, trying to figure out if I could play I play games. We're down 3-2 against Buffalo. I play game 6 in Buffalo, just kind of play the power play, just kind of be on the bench, cheerleader. And then play in game 7, play a lot, play like 20 some minutes. But in that game 7 against Buffalo now, I feel something tweak in my back. I just feel something pop. And we win game 7 against Buffalo. We're going to play Boston now again in the second round. And I wake up the next morning and I feel this burning sensation in my glute. And with each successive day, it goes from my glute to my hamstring to my calf to the day of the first game. I can't feel my leg. Like I have no strength in my leg. I can't move my foot. The game's an afternoon game. So I'm like, oh my God, even worse. So now I call the trainer. It's like 9 a.m. I'm like, hey, I need to go see the doctor. I can't feel my leg. And we've been tracking this, all the way through practice. I couldn't practice the last day. And then I go get an MRI and I got a disc out. They shoot me up. I go to the rink. I play like 20 minutes. I can't even move my leg. I'm brutal. I can't stand up. I got no strength. And sure enough, the next day I'm like, now it's even worse. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Oh. I got to get surgery. And then I came back that following year, and then I get hit in the eye, and it's over.
I don't even know where to go with all that. What I think we learn, first off, there's 80 plus games in a season. How a hockey player of your caliber paces themselves. There's just no way you can go full speed every single game, 82 games. I don't know that it's possible, right? I mean, the playoffs are a second season and they're long. How do you do that, Chris? How do you make it 82 games or 100 games in the playoffs? How do you do that?
You know what? That's what the summer's for. That's why you train. That's why you prepare a certain way. That's why I had a specific regimen, eating, training during the season, obviously off-season training in preparation for A, playing the minutes that I played, B, playing the style that I played, and then C, incorporating all that into my in-season workouts where even on off days, I might not skate, but I'm lifting to make sure that I'm keeping my strength and eating. Michael Phelps, I don't know, he was eating like 20,000 calories or whatever it was when he was swimming, all those times. We would play on the road. We would get on the plane, and I would eat 3 meals. They'd have the meals, and some guys wouldn't eat a meal
On
and they
one
would gain
flight?
weight on one flight. And we might only be, you remember I'm in Philly. Flight's an hour. I would get on the plane. They would give me a meal before we left. We would take off. I would get another meal. And then as we were cruising, I would get another meal right before we started to make our descent to land.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just something, in order for me to, maintain my strength and keep my weight on and all the rest of that stuff, trial and error. You have to really figure out what works and how you're going to fuel and feed your body to make sure that you're strong enough and you have that energy boost because you're playing either the next night or the night after that.
Season 2 of Tracks to Success is brought to you by Presentation Partners. Presentation Partners is a unique team of award-winning executives helping you build a presentation others will be talking about. Presentation Partners teaches you the true art of storytelling. And if you haven't heard about their neuroscience of persuasion, you'll see how valuable it is to own it. Whether you're a company or an entrepreneur, Presentation Partners is the team you need behind you. For almost 15 years, they've helped clients raise millions in capital and countless dollars in sales simply by making top leaders successful presenters. The time is now to find your authentic voice and learn your authentic story. Presentation Partners, creating persuasive story presentations based on something other than just your good looks. Couple of things stand out for me when we're talking about your career, Chris. Obviously, winning the MVP in 2000. You were a defenseman. That just doesn't happen every day. No team that ever traded you made the playoffs the next year. I kind of
You think they would have caught on to that?
Yeah, privately, are you kind of proud of that?
Oh, 100%. Maybe it was that little voodoo doll I had.
Yeah, I figured as much. What stands out about your career for you? Is it the leadership? Is it wearing the C? What is it that you remember most and that you're the most proud of in that way?
I think outside of the first 2 years in Hartford, every team I played on made the playoffs. And then as you said, the teams once I left did not. And it's I wear it as a badge of honor to be a leader and to push my teammates. I hold myself here, and I hold my teammates. They might not be to my level, but I'm going to push them to be the best they possibly can be, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's held accountable for their actions as the leader and as sometimes the captain or assistant captain of a team. The media and the fans and the outside world, apply the piano on your back, so to speak, that the pressure falls on your shoulders to A, help the team win the game, B, get your teammates ready and make sure that they're ready to play, etc. Whether that's fair or unfair, that's just the way it is. So if I'm taking the brunt of the media and the brunt of the fan, good or bad, I'm holding you accountable because I'm gonna be the one taking the brunt of it, win or lose. So much like watching The Last Dance and Michael Jordan. I mean, there's so many similarities between outside of the fact that he is who he is and I'm who I am. Pushing your teammates, and I mean, I had to, as I got older, I kind of backed off how I practiced. But when I was here in St. Louis, I practiced hard. I mean, I would tomahawk guys going wide. I would, cross-check guys in front of the net. I'd run guys in the corner. It was just, I needed to, A, get myself ready for that game, but B, to show them this is what I do on a day-to-day basis to prepare, and you need to do the same thing. You need, whatever your role is on the team, you need to do that to the best of your abilities, and you need to be ready to come to play when that puck drops and be ready to leave it all on the ice, because it's such a fine line, and it's only gotten finer as the game has continued to grow and get faster. There's such a fine line to winning hockey games and being a winner that you need people to be able to push
Yeah.
and push yourself. I was always my own worst critic.
So leadership is everything in hockey when it really boils right down to it. I mean, a captain is the guy that's got to answer for everybody in that locker room. And if you don't have that, you got nothing. Is that fair?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, when you look at some teams and you're like, well, that team's not as good. They play better as a team. Why do they play better as a team? How are they brought together? Who's holding who accountable? And you create this culture and this tradition inside the locker room. And there's a reason why some teams always have success. And it's the group of guys in the locker room and the coach and the manager and the owner and the culture that they create and the traditions that they uphold and how they want to be looked upon to the outside world. That is vitally important. And when new people come into that dynamic, they get it right away. They're like, wow, this is a tight group. This is, you come into the locker room and you're like, man, there's no screwing around here. We're here to work. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun, but we're going to work and we're going to have our work boots on and do what's going to be necessary to be successful.
Ever see yourself coaching?
No.
Who's the best coach you ever played for?
I am far too impatient to coach, especially in this world we now live in. I think I could do it. I don't think what little hair I have left, I think would be gone very quickly. I've played for a number of great coaches. Obviously, Joel Quenneville got a start here in St. Louis when I was here. I enjoyed. I had Paul Holmgren as my first head coach in Hartford. Loved him. Craig McTavish in Edmonton, who was a former teammate here in St. Louis. I love playing for Mac T. Enjoyed the way we played in Anaheim with Randy Carlyle. Liked the way we played with Peter Laviolette in Philly when I was there.
Keenan?
I've always, I like Mike. You know what? We got off to a rough start in the fact that I was whipping boy. But, I think in the long run everything, as we all know, happens for a reason in life. And had I not been forced to go through that adversity and to really look inward and deeper at who I was, what I was doing, how I was acting, how I was training, how I was preparing, Mike is not an X's and O's guy. Mike is a motivator. And, when you look at his track record from his days at the University of Toronto all the way through Philly on to the Rangers, Chicago, he finds somebody that he beats down and then rebuilds. And that's somewhat what he did with me. And I knew that going in. So I certainly expected some abuse, maybe not ultimately what I got, but, I had, towards the latter part of my first year and then on into my second year, I had a great relationship with Mike. And, I would certainly credit him. And I did my Hall of Fame speech that he helped me kind of turn into the player that I became once he got fired. And I continued to develop as a player. He was certainly a big part of the reason why.
You've technically retired from the game, at least as an active player. You've got a wife, you've got kids, and now you've got this new venture. Well-Inspired Travels. What is it? How did it even come to be?
Oh, man.
Mr. Entrepreneur.
How much time do we have?
We got a little.
All right. You know what? It was my wife's baby. We certainly travel a lot as a couple, as a family. We really understand and get the role that travel has on our health and wellness and our well-being, the mind, body, spirit, and how travel can affect that. Her father when she was 6, had stage 4 colon cancer and was given a 10% chance to live. He got that diagnosis and told his wife, my mother-in-law, that he wanted to take the kids traveling and during the summers and see the world with them. The first year they were in Europe, she got to see him full of life and vibrant and interested in exploring the world. He'd come home and just get pounded with chemo and radiation and all the different various forms of treatments that we had back then for cancer. And that next year he curated a trip to Asia because he wanted to learn more about Eastern medicine and holistic healing and all the different methods that they had. And, I think that really stuck home with my wife, and, lo and behold, 4 years later, medical miracle, he's cured, he's in remission, he's cancer free. And that really stuck with my wife, seeing him happy on those trips and the vibrancy and joy of travel. And then, learning about new cultures, new medicines, new healing therapies, and that whole health and wellness side that, as we know, has really grown over the last 15, 20 years. And so taking all that into account, and then us traveling, fast forward to when I get hurt in Philly, I get eye injury and bad concussion. Her mom has breast cancer, and then her dad has a debilitating stroke that has paralyzed him on the right side. So the triple whammy happens. Everything, as we know, happens in threes. And she's, blindsided by all this, and 3 kids at home. 3 of her loved ones are dealing with some serious health issues. She starts reading up on all kinds of different things that will help us and even her. She, reading up on transcendental meditation and all the different holistic healing methods that might, whether it help me, help her dad, help her mother, and really starts reading a lot of books, and was already interested in health and wellness, and had a number of different, degrees from different institutes in the health and wellness space. And that kind of clicked in her head. And she had this little private social media account that we had a bunch of athletes and celebrities and the like kind of following us, and always asking her, "Oh, where'd you guys go? How'd you pick that place?" Because I would always become unglued when I couldn't train and couldn't work out and couldn't prepare it. Even while on a holiday, I was still getting up, making sure I got my workouts in, and making sure I was eating properly and able to maintain my way of living and my way of training while on vacation. And back then, 15, 20 years ago, most hotels and resorts, the fitness center was an afterthought and kind of piecemealed together later on. And, as we've seen over the last 10 years, as more and more new locations have been built, the fitness center and the spa are really sometimes the focal point of the whole facility. So, she would always get asked where we went, what we were doing. And that kind of clicked in her head, and our kids were very young at the time, and we had obviously a lot of health issues in the family. So, it was just kind of churning in the back of her head. And then the last few years, as our kids got older, unfortunately, her father passed away, and then her mother is now cancer free. It's kind of freed her up to really build out the business and kind of think through and figure out who we're going to partner with and what the next steps were. And then I became interested, and I've always had a passion for travel, always was the guy planning our fishing trips and our golf trips and different events like that, and making sure, there's nothing better than putting together a trip and seeing the joy and satisfaction of those that are able to participate and take advantage of those trips. And, so I have a passion for travel as well, and really saw a need in our space where what we know best, and that's the elite athletes and kind of CEOs and owners of businesses, and understand the demands in their time, the pressures of their job, the demands in their family, because they're a lot of times this second in line, because the athlete is training, preparing, playing, and giving his all in his day-to-day job. And the family unit comes second sometimes. And how do you bring that together and allow the spouses to reconnect, or the family to come together and go on an amazing trip, and really, for us, dig deep, and our staff really dig deep and ask questions of, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? What's your bucket list? What do you not like? What do you like? What do you like when you travel? And really dig deep into what they want to get out of it, and what they really want to come home, and what's the take home value, really. And the experiences that we curate and create for them. We like to call it experiential travel. It can be as cookie cutter as you want to go to LA for a couple of days, and it can be, I want to go to the Middle East, or I want to go to Europe, or I want to go to Asia, and it's curating and managing where to go, what to do, and we're turnkey luxury 5-star resorts and yachts, villas, private jets, all the rest of that stuff. But really for us, I mean, it's our intimate knowledge of the mindset of an elite athlete, how you're driven, what makes you tick, why you might need something versus somebody else further down the food chain. It's when you're in that position and in that mindset, you think differently. You think you're more in tune with what's going on, and you're able to really kind of cut through all the BS and really cut to the chase and figure out what you need to do on any specific level, whether it's sports, business, whatever it is, to be successful. And you figure out a way, and that we're here to provide the other side of it, the human element.
Yeah.
It's
like a boutique service. I mean, it is
very boutique.
But here's the
niche. It's a niche business.
I'm sure a lot of athletes and the people that you were just describing really struggle when they're done trying to figure out their next. And I don't know if you were struggling or if you felt like you always knew you were going to do something else, but suddenly now you're running this business day to day, and you're also responsible for other people's enjoyment, pleasure, etc. And you need to deliver management skills, etc. Did you really ever train for that? Is this all new?
I managed a locker room, and I managed, a household, and I managed, a lot of things that we do. And you read a lot of books, and you talk to a lot of people, and you have mentors in life. And I've certainly had some great ones. And, I think for us in this boutique niche business, there are so many things that I look at when I played and see, we are uber discreet and private. When I played, I didn't want anybody knowing where I was going, what I was doing, how I was training. I wanted to try to get a leg up. I wanted to make sure that nobody was getting ahead of me. And, we are, if not anything, that. And that's core value for us, number one. And then obviously communication and talking things through and understanding where your interests lie and what you really want to do and what you're passionate about and what you want to learn and take home. We want to create trips and experiences where you come home from a trip with your family. These are expensive trips. You're spending a lot of money. You don't want to just come home and sit at the table and go, yeah, that was a good trip, and then you're done. You want to come home and go, oh, man, sit down with your kids and you're having dinner and at the dinner table and you're like, oh, man, you remember when we did this? Wasn't that funny when this happened? And then 2 weeks later, you're still talking about it. You're able to fall back on it 2 years later and talk to your kids about the next adventure you're going to take and where you want to go and what unique thing can we do next. And, I don't think, as I've looked through all the different travel businesses that are out there, there's nobody out there that has my resume and has my background that is doing this. And certainly not my wife either. And that plays into the second part and the mentorship side, where because we're asking these questions and getting to know our clients so well, we're able to form that bond and that friendship where they're going to feel more comfortable asking, somebody's wife that maybe they're injured, maybe they're having marital problems or kid problems, and they're able to ask, we're not perfect. We've gone through our struggles. We've got our own problems. It's not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every day's been perfect my whole life. There's certainly a lot of things that we've had to learn from and go through to come out on the other side and be where we're at now. So, we want to be there for that next generation and those athletes that are out there and former athletes and business leaders that might need a little help figuring out how to decompress, how to de-stress, how to reconnect with your family, how to do all these different things. And if you haven't been in that situation, how do you know where to start and what questions to ask and where to really probe and find out that touch point that's really going to get them to open up to figure out this is exactly what you need.
In addition to hosting this podcast, Kraig leads the Kann Advisory Group, focused on elevating communication for companies and individuals. Company consulting, empowering team and individual workshops, mind-altering webinars, and Kraig's inspiring keynotes for your conference or company meeting. They're all on the menu of services. Kann Advisory helps companies clarify their message, helps professionals build and showcase their brand, and helps everyone present their best selves. So if you're the leader of a team or company looking to give your employees a game-changing one-day experience, or an individual who wants to become a speaker and presenter that gets other people talking, visit cannadvisory.com. And when you do connect, make sure to mention the Tracks to Success podcast to receive a special discount on any of the Kann Advisory services. That's cannadvisory.com. Now back to the interview.
We're talking with Hockey Hall of Famer Chris Pronger. Chris, in hockey, you play defense, but when you're running a business, you can't really play defense all the time. You got to go on the offensive. You got to push and you got to, take risks and take chances and you'll fail a few times. What have you learned about yourself in this process?
I would say as I've gone along, I think talking about the early part of my career, I was and still am to a certain degree, very much an introvert. As much as people might see this gregarious guy out in public, I've learned to put the public face on, but I've learned to be a little bit more outgoing and I was always quiet. When you have eyes on you all the time and people trying to talk to you, I used to kind of skulk into the corner and kind of just, kind of watch and kind of keep my back to the wall so that I knew nobody was going to come up behind me. But, I think being more outgoing and you're selling a business, you're selling yourself to a certain extent in this business. Mm-hmm. And, learning how to describe yourself and what you're passionate about and what your goals and dreams are, and then finding out what theirs are and talking it over and figuring out what exactly they want out of life, what they want out of travel. I think once we start going down that path, a lot of people, when you get into that mentorship side and friendship side, you're really trying to figure out what makes them tick and then delivering on that, whatever that point is and whatever that, value or, little idea that kind of light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, this would be perfect. And maybe you should try this and maybe do this with your wife. Maybe surprise her once in a while.
Yeah, really.
Don't let her plan everything.
That's right.
Maybe surprise her with a trip.
Do you need to prove anything to yourself with this venture? I mean, is there something that you feel, I haven't done this yet?
No, I would say when you ask the question about managing, et cetera, I've always wanted to own my own business. I've always wanted to run my own business. I've always wanted to be my own maker and really, basically do it all, if you will. And, obviously I got a great partner in my wife. We've got great people working underneath us. We've got great affiliates and partners behind that. And, we've certainly put a top-notch, first-class staff together, and really it's just about executing now for us and putting the right pieces into place for our clients and their families. And I have no qualms now getting on the phone, talking to people, telling them our story. It's we're very real, we're very natural. There's no BS. There's no, this is all things that have happened in our life and things that we've gone through that have helped kind of steer us in this direction and kind of have us come around the circle again and life 2.0. So it's been a lot of fun getting to this point, and really it's just the beginning.
Couple of things before I let you go. This podcast is called Tracks to Success, and I try to present people and their inspiring stories with a great thought of helping other people to perhaps achieve the same thing in whatever they do. You were inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2015. A two-part question for you. They sound very similar, but they're different. Number one, what do you want people to remember you for?
Well, and I tell, and this is also when you asked the question earlier about when I was younger and, et cetera. A lot of times as a young athlete, well, that's the hockey player. Oh, he's a football player. Well, no, I play hockey, but I am a hockey player currently, but that doesn't mean that I'm always going to be a hockey player. And I think for the longest time early on, I struggled with being steered in just that direction. Oh, he's just a hockey player, or he's just this, he's just that. There's more pieces to the onion, and it's peeling it back, and whether it's coming out of your shell and talking more and being more engaging, or learning about a new business, learning about something different in life, and trying it. I've become much more open to trying new foods and learning about new cultures and things like that. When you're immersed in your sport or your business, whatever the case may be, you get tunnel vision to a certain extent. And I think travel can help take the blinders off a little bit as well. It's a great way to really open things up. So I would want people, when they talk about me, they're like, he's a hard worker. That guy works his ass off. And they might say, well, he was talented. Yeah, but you can have all the talent in the world. If you don't work, you're only going to get so far. And it's a matter of, waking up every morning and, all right, let's get to work, and it sets the example for your kids, and they see you working and how hard you work and what you're trying to build and grow, et cetera. And, you're trying to set that example, hopefully for that next generation of Prongers out there.
I can totally relate. 17 and a half years at Golf Channel, one of the day one original six. There's a hockey analogy for you. And everybody would say, hey, it's the Golf Channel guy. And I loved it. I was flattered. I was honored. But at the same time, I wondered what else, what else can I do? What else can I give? And so when you talk about that, trying other things or putting yourself in new situations that can stretch you, I think it's really important. The second part of that question is, what do you want people to remember you as? What type of person as?
I think a lot of people now they would see my persona on the ice and they're like, oh, that guy's an asshole. He's so mean. But, when you talk to people, you're like, okay, that's how I played. That's just how I played the game. And then when you meet them on the street and they actually talk to you without being rude, they actually talk to you. They're like, oh, you're a lot nicer than I thought you were. And it's, I think in life, as we know, it's about opening up your eyes and not expecting certain things, but finding out for yourself and figuring out who somebody is. If somebody says, oh, so-and-so is a jerk, are you going to go into that conversation thinking this guy's going to be a jerk, or are you going to say, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and I'm going to figure out if he's a jerk? And too often I think we listen to outside voices and distractions, if you will, instead of making up our own minds and worrying about what we think. We worry about what somebody else is thinking. And I think if there was one thing that I always batted away was, I don't care what you think. I don't know you anyways. If I know you and you don't like me, I'm sorry. But 99 out of 100, when I meet you and we talk and we become friendly, we're going to become friends, because I'm not necessarily that persona. That's just what you see when I was entertaining and playing a sport. And now it's just, just trying to be me and help people along the way with our business.
I wish you the absolute best with that business. And I have no doubt, based on a guy who wore the Captain C on his sweater for all those years, that you're going to be a great leader and you're going to lead that thing to exactly where you want it to go with your wife. This has been a real pleasure and honor to have you on this thing with me. And I feel like I got a good friend, and I've got a new travel agent. So
yeah, you do.
it's all good. I appreciate it. Chris, thank you so much for being on this.
Thanks, Kraig. My pleasure.
In our conversation, Chris talked about the importance of a healthy lifestyle and treating your mind and body right with leisure and vacation time, which leads me to my one last thing. If you want to be an influencer, treat your physical self as well or better than the effort you put in mentally to achieve your goals. I'm not the most fit person in America, but I do know that when I am active and in the gym putting effort into making me feel better, I have a lot more energy to perform better. Example, when I'm on the road speaking to groups, I make sure that to the best of my ability, I travel with enough time left in the day to get in a workout once I get to the hotel. And if at all possible, I'm up early enough before my talk to break a sweat and get my blood pumping. A better physical you is a better performing you. Chris talked about that. No matter what you do or where you work, and Chris would tell you that a vacation now and then is more than just a bonus, it's a necessity. Fit all that into your schedule, and I really believe your tracks to success come a whole lot easier. One thing before we go, please take a moment to give this podcast a review and a rating and share it with those you think might benefit from listening. And if you have a guest you think belongs on this show, email me, info@cannadvisory.com. Until next time, I'm Kraig Kann. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Tracks to Success, brought to you by Presentation Partners, visual storytellers passionate about connecting presenters with their audience. Don't forget to subscribe to the show for more great interviews and thoughts on reaching your highest personal and professional summit. You can follow Kraig on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @Kraig Kann. And for exclusive Tracks to Success content and news about our upcoming guests, you can find Tracks to Success on Twitter. It's @Tracks to Success.